Hey guys, welcome to another Trade Genius podcast. I got my good friend Bob here. Guys, bell-bottoms, disco lights, and crazy hairstyles might be making a comeback. And what we mean by that, well, we're going to discuss that in this video. Let's dive in.
Trade Genius.
All right, Bob, get your boogie shoes. I think it's a return to the 70s.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I think stagflation is here to stay. Whenever they try to drive oil down now, there seems to be some sort of crisis or some sort of issue. And it's not just oil anymore, Phil. Let me throw this chart up to show you guys. This came out a couple days ago where Russia's preparing to ban on basically strategic metals to the United States. I was actually shocked that they haven't already done so.
Yeah.
And the last time they did this was, I think it was 2016. You guys can look on the charts, 15 to 16. They banned the export of platinum and palladium, and they doubled in 4 months. And so, the United States, this is what always makes me scratch my head. There are things we absolutely essentially need from them in order to run our high-tech economy / military. And, we constantly are painting them with a broad brush, yet we view China even more worrisome than Russia, and yet we trade with them like crazy. So I was surprised that they haven't done so. I think Putin probably will. And just have to add to this, Phil, the longshoreman strike. I guess you can't even get into Costco today, from what I heard. I don't know why people are worried about getting toilet paper when toilet paper is produced in the United States. I don't know what people think the ports are. But then again, this is our new generation of geography geniuses. So the ports are on the edge of the country when things come into the country, not from Georgia where they produce them all. But yeah, it's an issue. So you got this going, you got the Russian ban going. And look, we held off doing this video to the last possible minute because we want to see if Israel is going to hold true and attack the oil interests of Iran. And if they do that, Iran's the third largest producer of energy in the world. And so the third or fourth. And so you have a situation here where if they go offline or partially go offline, we're going to get a spike in energy prices too. So it's just a mess, Phil. And then I'll get your thoughts on this. Then we're going to do a little bit of a non sequitur. I'm going to show you another chart, which I think is pretty interesting, can help you trade and make money here as we go forward. So what do you think about these shortages? I think they're coming.
No, definitely. I think they're coming. And I think that also it's interesting because we have that fractal of inflation, right? That from the 70s as well and kicking back up. So it's kind of a perfect storm that plays into that as well. So now next few months, I think that's going to be the issue going into the end of the year and why I think you see a sell come in Q1, right? Because the Feds might imply that they can't really do any more cuts because inflation is skyrocketing. I think ultimately at the end of the day, the job situation is going to trump all of that. But I think that is a catalyst for why the market starts to roll over on top of the fact that, we're probably going to be looking at negative GDP revisions and things of that nature. But as we're going to see in his next charts that, oil prices are probably going to be up a lot in the next few months. And when you have all of this stuff coming to a head, it won't be that big of a surprise. Well, if you're not paying attention, it will be. But when the markets do roll over, I think you're just going to have a ton of bad news. And it's going to be kind of like, oh, yeah, well, yeah, we're down and this is why. It's not going to be out of the blue.
Yeah. And also, Powell said yesterday that, hey, easy on the big rate cut, boys. So he already knows. And so we throw this chart up. This is really interesting, guys. I've said this before, but this was somebody finally put it in chart form for us that the 10-year and oil prices have a correlation. When yields are going up, energy prices go up. When yields fall, energy prices fall. Now, that could simply be the matter of we're going into recession and oil prices fall because of lack of demand. But it's also an inflation hedge too. So when people, they see interest rates rising, the yields rising, they're going to naturally hedge with oil because they're expecting higher interest rates or inflation rates, I should say. And we get in the 70s, Phil, we can have falling demand, economic demand, and rising oil prices, which is the worst of all years. That means the Fed's not going to be able to cut. Energy costs are permeating through the entire supply chain, and yet not enough people have jobs or making enough money to make a difference. And then that's when you get the Jimmy Carter malaise. And ironically, he turned 100 today, too. So all these things are flying at us today, Phil.
Yeah, and yield 10-year yields have come down a bit, right, already. Really what you're looking for is when it's not shaded this solid red color, but rather when it starts to transition from that lighter color, right? Because you're putting in a top on the treasury yield and then rolling over. So we've already actually come down quite a bit. And so my point would be that we're probably going to see a little bump up in the treasury yields and oil probably as well. But like you said, oil could probably outlast the treasury yield move up in the short term. Because I think honestly, with everything shaping up, I think you have to be bullish on oil, at least be open-minded that we could be dealing with higher oil prices into December, maybe January. And then we might see a break. Then we might see the treasury yields then roll over as well. And then we see another episode of this transition from these light colors back to these darker colors, implying that we have another leg down.
No, I totally agree. And if we're wrong and energy prices roll over and the yields start to fall again, there's some great trades on the long side we could take, i.e. shorting vol. And, Bitcoin's going to like that. And because they're going to be pumping cash in. So either way, we're going to have trades. But today is really interesting with Israel. And it immediately put a floor under oil. I think we had the biggest oil range today, I think, all year. And I know ExxonMobil did. ExxonMobil had a bullish engulfing pattern. That's all you need to know.
Right.
Interesting thing, too, ExxonMobil is selling their Nigerian assets, and they said they're looking forward to a more positive regulatory environment in the United States. So it sounds like they're going to do some sort of quid pro quo with probably Chevron and ExxonMobil saying, hey, you got to pump up our domestic production, free up some cash to do it. And probably it's the right thing to do, especially if Trump gets in, because he's going to put those guys to work.
Yeah, so I think we obviously turbulence in the air, right? Because we've got the Middle East tensions cranking up. If it does turn into a major regional conflict, I think that we will see a knee-jerk reaction lower. But much like when Russia invaded Ukraine, you ultimately find a bid in the market. So once we're past the initial, bouts that open up maybe a greater conflict, if that even happens, right? Iran looks pretty impotent at the moment as far as what they can do. So, but if this does escalate, then I think, we could maybe see some lower prices as the week progresses. But then I think definitely by mid-October, I think we're going to get a bid regardless of what's going on. The Middle East could be totally on fire and people will be like, oh no, the market's going to tank because of the uncertainty. And it's just not what markets do. If you look at every invasion in the last, 20, 30 years, the market always ends up bidding up hard after the initial pullback. So I would say maybe today was the start of an initial pullback. I don't think it's going to last that long. And I think market forces are going to take back over as they always do. And we're going to bid up from whatever escalates out there.
I agree. I think Bitcoin will lead the market. So we just keep an eye on that one.
All right, guys, let us know your thoughts on today's video. Post those comments below. We love to read them. And as always, if you need help navigating these markets, head over to tradegenius.co and check out our stuff over there. Thanks, Bob. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Take care.
Trade Genius.